Hi there, friends. Before we dive in, we want to let you know something important. While this podcast does feature a marriage and family therapist, we are not your therapist. This is a space for informational and educational purposes only. We're here to have a deep conversation over coffee. If you find yourself feeling stuck or overwhelmed, we encourage you to reach out to a trusted therapist, counselor, coach in your area who can give you personalized support you deserve. Because let's be real, life is way too hard to go at it alone, and your emotions are way too valuable to ignore. Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's get to the good stuff. Today, I am joined by certified coaches Zephan and Sarah McMinn, who are coming out of Santa Rosa, California, to join us in sharing the beginning of their journey and learning the connection codes tools. Zephan was deeply desiring connection. He was experiencing loneliness and didn't even recognize that it was loneliness that he had. He says that when he looks back, he can see it as he was desperate. He had a desperation inside of his body to connect deeply with Sarah. And Sarah, on the other hand, was under the impression she thought everything was good. She thought they were great. She was a mom of 4 running her household, and they were just caught up in the moments of life until they had a shift take place. And so they're going to share today about that shift, what it looked like, and then how their journey in learning these tools got worse before it got better. And then things that they have done to build and create safety for each other. This episode is not to be missed. It is so incredible, and they are just 2 amazing people. There's a link in the show notes to connect with them. But without further ado, I will stop talking so you can meet Zephan and Sarah. You had said a second ago that sometimes you wish you could, you can't even watch anything now because there's just all of these moments of resistance that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't turn this off. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I was watching, my guilty pleasure is Real Housewives. So I was watching Real Housewives of Orange County last night, getting caught up. And the woman was literally crying about a situation with her child. And her husband was resisting her energy and just saying you're too much. I don't know what to do with you. And then she comes on for her little moment with the mic and she's like, sometimes I just want him to hold my emotions. Sometimes I just want him to validate. I'm literally screaming at the TV, just ooh her. And she's like, I don't even know if our marriage is going to make it. And so you're right. There are so many marriages that are disintegrating because we don't know how to ooh. Zephan and Sarah, thank you so much for being here today. I've absolutely loved getting to know you through the coaching program and then talking deeper about some of the skills that you have learned to navigate this life together that you have built. So if you'll take a minute and introduce yourself to our community, who you are and how you got here.
Hi, Tara. Thank you for having us. First of all,
Awesome to be here. Yeah, so much joy. Gosh, we've been married for almost 20 years and we have 4 kids, ages 9 to 17. We just dropped off our oldest at college. We got married pretty young, I guess, by today's standards. We got married over 23, 24, met married in 6 months and fresh out of college. And we were pregnant 6 months later, something like that. And so pretty much from the get-go, we're showing out of a cannon into married life and just life in general. And when the dust settles, and it does settle a little bit, Sarah and I are just, we joke from Forrest Gump, we're like peas and carrots. We've always had a really good friendship. But we're stoked to be here today. Connection Codes has been life-changing. I don't know. We've been a part of a bunch of different things. We've led small groups on love and respect. We've done love after marriage. We are still also big fans of Keep Your Love On by Danny Silk. We've been working on this relationship of ours for almost 20 years, but Connection Codes was definitely the first thing where I was like, oh, this is not a solution to the problem. It's a way of life. It's a practice. It's a discipline. It's just been something that's gotten into every part of our lives pretty much. Yeah. And I think leading up to that, because we've been coders now for 4.5 years, And I think that we had all of the typical struggles in our relationship, and we had 4 young kids at one point, and just the intensity of life and careers and just everything that was going on. I went to law school while we were having kids, and I was working full time all at the same time. Like that first 10 years was pretty intense for both of us. That first kid, especially the first kid, is rough if you have kids. And there's been a lot of survival, right? There's been a lot of, hey, let's just put the emotions in the background and we both got to show up and do the things that we know we got to do just to make this thing happen. And it's not that we've had a great relationship, like our entire marriage, but I think coming into the connection codes really has given us a vision and an opportunity to experience our relationship in a way that I don't even know if we knew was possible.
Yeah, never this kind of freedom and a relationship was possible.
Yeah.
I think you should start off telling when we went and recorded, or I wanted to record a podcast.
Yes. Sarah loves podcasts.
I was like, hey, we should go with them. In my head, I'm thinking this is pre-connection codes where you had been introduced to it through Elijah and started to dabble into it, talking to me about it.
Yeah.
And I went, let's go record at this place. And
yeah. So fast forward into 2020, 2021, we're really close with Elijah, Christina, Runyon, and do life with them all the time. And I remember in 2020, Elijah was telling me about this Connection Codes book. And it was just like, Zeph, you got to get on this, you got to get on this. And I don't know if it was COVID or what. Marriage just has its ebbs and flows anyways. And we were in a season where I know now that I was feeling particularly lonely, but unable to. I think if you asked me at the time, I was feeling rather desperate and feeling unconnected and definitely wanting more and not knowing how to get it. And Sarah, I remember this day, my parents have a piece of land. We went out there and Sarah wanted to record this podcast and let's just talk about, I don't remember what we were supposed to even be talking about.
Because our relationship, because in my mind, everything is fine. I'm like, we're good. And I had no idea that you were in so much pain. And he broke down. He was like, can we pause? And I was like,
and that was actually a pattern through most of our marriage. Like I referenced to this time where we had just gotten married. And then right after that, I was working full time, went to law school, and we had 2 kids when I was in law school. And I remember after that, I would reference back to that time was like, this was the hardest time I've done the life. And Sarah would be like, I don't understand what you're talking about. That was fine. And we had the microphone, started talking, and I think I started crying.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. I just said, I can't do this right now. I can't talk about this right now. And I think I said, I don't think that you're in love with me anymore.
And I think that really broke my heart that he felt like that I didn't love him, because that was for me. I'm like, how do you know? So in love with you.
Yeah.
It was the beginning where I think I was like, okay, I'm going to listen to the Connection Codes podcast. And
that's how, because I started listening to the podcast before I read the book. And that was really the first, Elijah and I call it the unplugging from the matrix. And I think I knew that you loved me. Looking back, I wanted that connection. I wanted to feel connection, especially in how connection looks to me. When you're in a partnered relationship, you have a way that you express your connection, and that your first go-to is, I want to feel connected in the way that I want to feel connected. And that becomes a pretty powerful source of pain for couples, is their difference in what connection looks like. And I knew that Sarah was all on board for Team Zephan, but in terms of desiring me, wanting me, like being passionate about me, feeling that passionate connection, feeling like, okay, wow, this person is really all about me. It was a tough spot. I think that was when I asked you, like, will you read this book with me? Can we start to go down this journey together?
I think a big part of our dynamic is I'm a people pleaser. I want everyone around me to be fine. And I'm never paying attention to actually how I feel, because I'm not okay if you're not okay. So I've spent a lot of time just managing Zephan. Is he okay?
Yes.
And when he was unhappy, I would take it as a shame experience of me. I'm not good enough. Nothing I do is good enough for you. And we would just go in this cycle. And then me trying to people please him, he's actually not getting to know me.
Yeah.
I'm not getting to know myself. I'm feeling actually really lonely. I don't realize because I'm just trying to manage.
People pleasing isn't actually connection. It can feel like connection or even appear to be connection, but it's not. Connection is connection.
Yeah.
And I think for us, the main thing that became so important with connection codes versus other things that we had done is that most other recipes or methodologies for having a good relationship usually involve like some kind of set of rules. They're like, hey, these are my rules. These are your rules. As long as we follow the rules here, like everything is going to be great.
We're going to get along.
Or like these rules will even lead to better sex or better connection, or you'll be happy together. But the ability to keep the rules going is like not possible, or at least wasn't possible for us. And the other issue is that there's just plenty of days when you don't feel like following the rules. And I think for us, there aren't any rules in connection codes really, other than just endeavoring to be safe for one another and being like, hey, your experience is yours and mine is mine. And pain is an opportunity for connection, and learning the tools of just validating each other's experience. And then there's a vast array of implications to that, obviously, but just this, we don't need a rule anymore. We just can go through life and we have a vision for what we feel like we want to do with our lives and with our children. And then there's just the experience of it all. And that one binding agreement between us to be safe and to ooh each other through it is the thing that just gets you to where you ultimately want to go so much faster, which is just to be connected and to feel partnership.
Yeah. I think I remember when I first started listening to the podcast, I binged 3 or 4 episodes. I really related to Phyllis a lot, especially because I feel like I don't know if it's unique, but both in our relationships, the man is the more sensitive, emotive one a little bit. Glenn, I love, he cries in every conversation you have with him. He just lets it out and it's so endearing. Yep. You're not so much that way, but you definitely are more in touch with your emotions naturally.
Yeah. No, I have to keep my emotions. I'm dealing with them all the time, and it's just, I struggle with just trying to manage my emotions. And so it causes this thing where it's like, hey, if I'm feeling a sort of way about this, I want to do something about it. Just blocking them off isn't usually an option for me.
I remember hearing them do the wheel together, Glenn and Phyllis, a few times. And I remember hearing Phyllis say something she was going through, and she talked about lonely, that she was really missing her friends. And I remember thinking what if your friends are listening right now and they hear you say that you're lonely? Are you going to feel I was you're going to be in trouble. This is how my heart was. I always have to be fine for everyone. I don't want to be hurt. I wasn't allowed to be hurt. I wasn't allowed to have any of those emotions. And it was they felt so safe with each other. I was just...
Yeah. So, and that was, it's interesting you would say that, because lonely was the first emotion that kind of hit me between the eyes too. And just how could you be around all these people and still feel lonely? And that definition of loneliness, that unsupportedness, the carrying of a burden that only you feel like you are experiencing. It's just, oh my God, I'm so lonely in this relationship right now. And I'm also have so much fear of even saying this out loud, because it's this involves you. And if I say this, it's going to be painful for you to hear. And then so much guilt and shame that I even feel that way. And it was man, that first, it was we call it a dam break. But that first dam break of just realizing that I had language to define this experience, and then this possibility that I could even say it out loud to Sarah and say it out loud again and again. And I think I remember those first 5, 10, 20 times where your life partner really just creates space and ooze you through something. Because when you're in a partnership, there's nothing, all of your emotions that are related to your partner, you have most of the time, there's a lot of guilt and shame around even feeling them. I tell Sarah this all the time. I have feel a lot of fear to tell you this, and I feel really guilty that I even feel this way, but I'm in a lot of pain about this thing. Well, man, you get oohed through that. Someone's just, I totally get that. What do you need?
I think it's taken me longer to learn how to ooh because I instantly, if he starts expressing pain, it's usually like shame for me. So he'll sometimes even before he says what he's feeling like, hey, can you be safe for me for a second? This isn't your fault. So it preps me up. Okay, this is him. This is, I can just, but I feel like I'm getting better. It's a practice.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I told this to plenty of coaches. You've heard me on the cohort. I think the heart of connection codes is the ooh. And once you really commit yourself to the discipline and watch it affect you, yourself, your family, you'll notice how much in the world people are resisting each other all the time. And this is what drives me crazy is how much micro resisting I see all the time. And sometimes I'm like, I don't want to see this. I want to go back. Ignorance is bliss, but it's so ingrained in our culture, in just the zeitgeist of things. Like we just resist. If you use ChatGPT, oh, hey, I remember the first time I told Chad that I missed a workout and it was like, oh, you're fine. And I'm like, oh God, even AI is resisting me.
You tell Chad, hey, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't resist me, please. It makes space. It's just that willingness to experience your emotions because there's so many counterintuitive messages about emotions. It's like we accept all these biological realities about our bodies, but with our emotions, it's like this thing that you can take or leave. And this idea of oohing was actually just like scientific and biological to me. Oh, okay, I was designed this way, whether evolutionary or recreated this way, doesn't really matter. This is actually a functioning part of my physiology. And not that I need to go chase my emotions because I've done a lot of that in my life of just trying to make myself feel better. But these emotions are creating messages and I need to be able to decide whether I'm going to listen to them or not. But if I'm creating ideas of whether they're positive or negative and I'm resisting them, I have no chance of discerning the message. So lowering that barrier, just, okay, I'm not going to resist myself first. Connection codes is amazing for relationships. And Sarah and I both believe that almost any partnered relationship can work. There's obviously outside of extreme cases of abuse or whatnot, but most relationships can really work. But for me, connection codes has been about a journey of self, like not resisting myself.
Okay, I want to talk about that in just 1 second. But before we do, I want to quote you in something that you shared with me about the ooh specifically, before we talk about you oohing yourself. You had said a second ago that sometimes you wish you could, like, you can't even watch anything now because there's just all of these moments of resistance that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't turn this off. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I was watching, my guilty pleasure is Real Housewives. So I was watching Real Housewives of Orange County last night, getting caught up. And the woman was like literally crying about a situation with her child. And her husband was resisting her energy and just saying, you're too much. I don't know what to do with you. Wow. And then she comes on for her little moment with the mic and she's, sometimes I just want him to hold my emotions. Sometimes I just want him to validate. Yeah. I'm like literally screaming at the TV, just ooh her.
Yeah, oh
and
God.
she's like, I don't even know if our marriage is going to make it. And so you're right. There are so many marriages that are disintegrating because we don't know how to ooh. And you said that the more you ooh and the more you get oohed, the more empathy you have. And I think that is so impactful when we're talking about in society, how you said just a moment ago, how we're seeing so much pain come to the surface and how much tension we're all creating. But when we can learn how to ooh each other and we can receive that ooh, we become a more empathetic society. I just think that's incredibly powerful. And so you said that, I was like, okay, I'm going to quote Zephan on this from now on. And so tell me about that journey of learning to ooh yourself, because that is something that we don't talk about enough. And I think that it does begin with self.
Yeah. Because as Sarah mentioned, a lot of relationships, there's a dynamic of someone who's, oh, my emotions are somewhere in another room. And then there's another person who like wants to talk about their emotions all the time. It's like she's a big coder now, but like at first I was on my mom, and there was still so much self-discovery for me. I was going through so many things, just reading the book, listening to podcasts, just, oh my God, there's just so many things. I grew up a pastor's kid. I grew up in church. There's just so many moments where it's like, I had completely mixed messages of what my emotions even meant, and slowly going through this process of just experiencing my emotions and being like, what does this emotion actually mean? It's like untangling an enormous ball of yarn, and even more like obvious and practical language. It's just that slow deregulation of your nervous system over 4 years of oohing myself and then oohing others and getting oohed. Like that first time you get oohed and you're like, oh God, that felt amazing. Then you go to someone else and you watch them have that same cathartic experience. Like, wow, you just watched an emotion get processed and unravel. And it's such a connecting, Glenn talks about this a lot. It's just people can't help but be drawn in when they are regarded. And I think that's been the process for me, is I actually value myself more. And I actually have had less pain because and so now, like Glenn talks about as well, I don't really know if I believe in introvert, extrovert. I used to tell people all the time, I'm an introvert that plays an extrovert on TV. I'm either, depending on what day, I'm a 4 wing 3 or I'm a 3 wing 4. I'm not really sure. Being able to connect with people and actually hear them and regard them. And that starts with you.
Yeah. Sarah, what has it been like for you from someone hearing like Zephan was experiencing so much pain, and that moment even where you're recording the podcast and he's hitting this wall of pain where he can't contain it anymore and you had no idea what was happening? What have you learned through that process with him? And as someone that you're the people pleaser, but holding on to somebody's pain.
Like I mentioned, I think a big thing that has really helped me is his emotions, his feelings are not my responsibility. I could go back to my childhood and how that all played out. I think doing the coaching cohort together it was like 2 years after we started, but just being forced into this group, everyone's safe for each other, everyone's sharing. I really feel like I found my voice in that cohort because I really experienced all these emotions. All of this stuff was happening for me. I saw them float away too. These painful things happen and I would process them and they would go. And I remember we would have conversations in between the cohort, and I didn't even realize, or I didn't even want to see, there's areas in a relationship where I felt like I could actually share with that.
Yeah.
Because it would hurt him too much. And I remember sharing some things and him doing me and being safe for me. It was like huge, like little dam breaks happening. Okay, he's still here. He's not leaving me.
Wow.
And yeah, that was
like for years and years, our argument would be you being like, I'm never enough for you.
Yeah.
That was the go-to. Me being like, hey, give me more. I'm never enough for you. Yeah. And that hasn't even been, we're like on a different planet now from that. But it's just, it's so obvious to see now what was actually happening there. But I feel lucky, blessed.
Yeah.
Pick your adjectives.
just the way I wouldn't even call argue, the way we talk now. Even if you did want my attention more, you just have ways of, I'm just feeling lonely or whatever it is. And I can be there for you. What do you need? And I don't have to take it on and carry this weight around. Okay, how's Zephan's mood today? Do I need to?
Absolutely.
Instead, how am I doing? What do I need?
And just so much sensitivity between each other.
Yeah.
So how many times do we say during the day, I fear that you're in pain right now?
Yeah.
What am I missing right now?
Yeah.
And that just sparks a conversation that leads to this thing, like whatever it is, whether it's big, small, or whatever, it's still just a thing that's happening.
Yeah, something that's firing for me that we hear from couples, because when people start this journey, there is somebody that typically in a relationship, they are dialed in, they are ready to go. And then there's typically the other partner that's a little resistant. And for me, that was Wes. And he reached a point, which I've shared on the podcast, where he's like, I'm not doing this emotion thing. And then I've heard from other people as well say things like, do we always have to talk like this from now on? I feel fear or I feel lonely. And so you saying that is so fascinating, because this is how you talk in every day. But I love this conversation because the counteract of that, the other option is I'm not enough,
Right.
or I need more. So we're already talking in a language to each other. We're already sharing
Stop.
words, the same words over and over. How many times did we say, I'm not enough for you before? Now you can just say, oop, I'm feeling lonely. And so really you're just trading, you're up leveling your vocabulary. It's not that you are this extra emotion. I would actually argue I'm less emotional now than I was previously. I've just up leveled my vocabulary where you will hear me say the emotion. I'm not as emotional in what we view emotional to be. So I love hearing your before and after,
Yeah.
because so many people are saying that in their home right now. I'm not enough. But if you're saying that, that's a shame. You're experiencing shame. And
Totally.
it's not now like a condemnation of either yourself or your partner. It's a, oop, I'm experiencing shame, and it's just your experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
And
not
I think
your-
he can feel his pain, and I still can feel like I'm not enough, and I can share that with him, but it's just like an easier flow.
How many times would we argue in the past about really what we're arguing about is I want you to read my mind and give me everything that I want without me ever having to say it out loud. And then we use these really complex ways of trying to describe our emotion. We use these very complex adjectives for our emotions. And I think that's something that people really don't understand from the get-go about why would you just have these 8 core emotions? The simplicity of that is about giving you a tool to go dive into what's happening for you. And saying them out loud or doing the wheel it's about self-discovery, and keeping it simple makes it so you can go and actually do the work. And I just think that's been something that's absolutely, it's given us a lot of, I think when we first started, it was like we had very connection coded
A
vocabulary.
little cringy at times,
Yeah,
for sure.
Oh yeah. I think for the first year and a half, my de facto response to Sarah was, what's happening with that? What's happening with that?
So annoying. He could tell that I was in pain, and he would just, without me saying it.
Yeah.
What's happening with that?
Right.
Like,
And started with this core concept of, hey, can I tell you anything? Can I say anything here? And will you listen? Like, you want to know where your relationship's at? Ask yourself this question. Can I tell my partner anything? Man, I guarantee you like 99% of relationships say no to that. There are things even now that I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to touch that, but I know, I'm like, I know my sensitive spots, but I think that's the thing that, at the beginning makes it a little challenging, and it's hard. You first start this journey of going down the connection codes. Like you sit down like, hey, let's make a commitment to just say the things that we're afraid to say, but let's also make a commitment to, I made a vow here. I'm in this no matter what. I know that it's not necessarily about me. I know this is your experience. I really want to know who you really are. Let's give each other that freedom. Let's do this. And then all hell breaks loose because you start saying things that have been a part of your everyday for 19 years.
I really felt like maybe it was a mistake. Like the first 6 months in, it felt like we opened Pandora's box and we were just fly, and it was scary. And I was like, I don't know if this is going to work.
Yeah.
Because And it's a practice, takes some practice to realize what's actually in each other, that I don't have to fix him right now. He doesn't have to fix me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you said that too, like that it is the first 6 months you feel like you've opened Pandora's box. And that's also in the time frame where you were mentioning earlier, it's cringy. Everything you're doing, you're like, what's happening with you? And you're like, you're resisting that stop because you know what's happening. But those moments built the foundation and built the practice of where you are today, where you know how to tune in, when to tune in, and how to just share authentically. Wes doesn't have to ask me what's happening for me very often because I just can share with him. It's no longer this slow down of a moment where we needed those early days, the cringe days of unpacking it all to get where we are today. And yeah, tell me more about the first 6 months because we don't talk about that enough. And a lot of our listeners are in that first 6 months. Our community is like, y'all make it sound so easy and I'm struggling. And so they'll give up before they get over the hump of it.
I remember a big thing. Let's say Zephan is having a dam break and just I'm feeling attacked is what I would say. Taking a deep and just telling myself this is about him and letting him get to the bottom of the pain. Let him fly. Keep asking questions, keep being curious. And it's amazing if you keep that going, there comes a bottom to the pain where it's just this soft puddle of love that you just want to like, there's a connection at the end of it, at the bottom of it, where the anger goes away, the shame goes away, and it's just, it's gold.
Yeah. And you don't, like I said, this is a part of our culture. Resisting is a part of their culture. And you don't just undo habits in the blink of an eye. It's so much more ingrained in your personality and your everyday life and every single social circle you have than you realize. Oh, there's a certain level of your emotions that are firing that you're like, oh, this is like an active pain that I'm in. And then you have more levels that you are not even aware of. Like Sarah's testimony is case in point where there's just a bunch of emotions that she's just, no, I got that in the closet. I'm not going to go there. Everything is fine. What's your problem? And I think that it definitely does take some leadership, like someone in the relationship being like, hey, no, I'm committed to this. And because there are moments where it's like one or the other wants to call it or wants to go back to the safety. It's like we use the Matrix analogy because it's like, hey, I know this steak isn't real, but it's still delicious. Let's just go back to the way it works. And so I just think so many relationships, so many even good relationships get to this place where we've learned what to leave alone and what the rules are here. And that's enough.
It never felt like enough for Zeph because you just want deep connection. Yeah. And so it's just the status quo where I thought everything's fine. Everything's fine, babe. But no, he wants really deep connection. And had he not led, I would have been like, yeah, we're good.
Well, then if you have kids, that's the other thing too. So like that first 6 months, you're like getting your own world tossed upside down. And because you're having these experiences that you would normally deal with in your traditional manner, whether it's more of an external coping mechanism or some way of dealing with it with your partner. And now you have this different methodology that you're like, seems like maybe this light at the end of the tunnel, but there's still a ton of fear to even go and do that, of being like, hey, can I just tell you about how this interaction really hurt me, where you would had never said that before, 15 years or whatever into a marriage. And that unsurprisingly causes conflict because you're learning how to it's like relearning how to communicate. Sarah mentioned that the tools, the practice of it, and there are logistical things. Like a lot of times I'll say to Sarah, hey, can I tell you about some pain that I'm in? I have some fear that this might be painful for you. If it is, please tell me. Or this has nothing to do with you, but I know it's not about you personally. Just giving people a primer, letting them be like, okay, I'm going to be here and be there for you things like that, where that just it's a discipline. It takes time. It takes time for your nervous system to let go of things that they've been holding on to for a long time. Our culture says, oh, if you just say this one thing that you're hurt and then the person says that they forgive you, then hurt goes away. It's wrong. Might be hurt. Glenn talks about, I don't know how long it's going to take, 10, 15, 20, 1,000. That's not the point.
That's so good. And I love like even highlighting what that season looked like and then the fruit that comes from it. If you can just stay in it, if you can hold on. That's why Glenn says when we break a dam, hold on for dear life. But once you get to the other side of it, what you get to experience is just incredible. And something else that y'all had said, we had a call previously, and I loved this phrase as well, that you endeavor to be safe for each other. And that changed everything. And so it just reminds me that when safety is our goal, when that is the goal of a conversation, it makes the not resisting easier. Like it reframes every logistical element of our conversations when we can just focus on the safety. And so I absolutely love that. And I also think about those early months for y'all. And this is something that I'm curious about that you may have had that other people didn't. You had Elijah. You had a community around you. You had two people, Elijah and Christina, which for our listeners, if this is your first episode, Elijah's been on the podcast several times. He's our director of certified coaching, but you had people in your corner. And so tell me what impact that made on you to have your closest people also speak this language with you.
We wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
That first 4 months, that first 5 months, even getting to the place where I was willing to even say out loud to Sarah, I don't think you're in love with me anymore. That was so hard and so painful to even let out of my mouth. And it can feel like your world's unraveling a little bit. But because we talked about, it does get so much better, but having people along the way just to do you and share their own experience.
Like,
yes.
You're not alone in this. Oh,
I
what
get
you're
that.
going through. Yeah. And encourage you like, okay,
Yeah.
it gets better. Keep going.
That's the whole reason, one of the reasons, other than people begging us to do it, we created the certified coaching program. Is because people need that support. We are not supposed to be doing this alone. We're supposed to be doing it in community with others and having that guide ahead of us that is 10 steps before, that can show us the way and lead us. And I know that's something, the two of you are some of our connection coaches, which I'm excited to tell people how they can connect with you. But I just want to encourage people if you're starting this journey, if you're in the early days, or if you've been into it for a year, because if you don't have another person, if your best friend is not a connection coder, it can take longer to get through, to reach out to a coach. They are here to help you, to help guide you through it so you can get to the other side faster. Is there anything else that you would want to share with our community, either about your own journey or just like speaking truth and life into them in their journey?
I really liked what you said about safety and the goal of our relationship. I recently saw a reel on Insta that I shared with Sarah, and it was talking about how you're all good. I saw this reel that I shared with Sarah on Insta, and it was talking about how one of the main benefits of having a life partner is you have a witness for your life. And really, in the grand scheme of the earth, we are all so insignificant, just a grain of sand on the beach. But here you have this one person that's like here to witness your existence. And I loved what you said about the safety, because that is actually the definition of this relationship. This is the one person that is here for this person, that's committed to just, hey, I'm here for you. Whatever your experience is, I want to hear it. And it's that ultimate expression of love and care, actually, is regarding, hey, this world's like a complete disaster. and it's a mess and everything's insane and parents so hard, but I'm here for it. And it's just, man, that's all it takes. Let's, to have this long, complex set of rules. Oh my gosh, there's just so much more depth that you can have in a partnership than what is being marketed to you in the mainstream world, media, even church. There's just connection. You can actually just feel connected and safe. And I don't know. I love that. Bring that up. I think it's great. So.
Yeah.
I married a good man.
Dude. No, that's really powerful. I completely agree. And that is the beauty of marriage, that we do miss. Just that was actually a big turning point for me in our sexual relationship, of realizing, oh, I'm Wes's only one. Oh, okay. That's an honor. I need to see him. I need to support him and desire him and all of these things. What a gift I have that I get to be his only one. And I never really framed it that way before, but when we reframe that I am the witness to your life, I am the one that gets to truly see you and all of, your good and your bad and all of the layers to this human that I adore. What a gift. Yeah, I love that. I feel that deeply within me. Thank you both. Thank you for sharing your story. Would you mind doing the core emotion wheel together?
Of course. I was hoping we'd get to it.
All right. Should I go first?
Oh, yeah. So do it.
Sad. I've been crying a lot about dropping my daughter off. I didn't think it was going to be as hard. Hurt. I think I was hurt when my kids just called me and asked me for money. Yeah. Fear. There's lots of fear with her being at school and all the things we worry about with having a girl in college right now. Shame. There's some shame in my mothering, and if I am doing a good job, I did enough. Then I guess that's guilt too. Yeah. Guilt that I didn't do a good enough job. Lonely. I was in a hotel room for 2 nights by myself before he met up with us to drop her off, and it was lonely for sure. But it was actually so great because I was able to journal and cry and be by myself in that kind of environment. Joy. I just been being with her so much, and I have so much joy about her. All my kids, just the mother's heart is just beams for our children.
Wow.
So much joy. What am I? Oh, anger. Anger is always a hard one for me.
Can you think of a big time you felt anger?
I think the biggest time I got angry with myself, I had a miss with a friend, and I felt so much guilt about it and got angry at myself for my stupid blindness. Yeah.
Shame. That was good. Man, starting off with a bag.
The wheel, I still feel that kind of pressure or fear, I should say, instead of fear of, oh, am I going to do this right? And it's still, my emotions are still oh, here we go.
Okay, let's take a look.
Let's open up
The wheel will reveal. Yeah, I'll go. So let's see here. Yes. Joy. Being up north with our boys, my son winning their baseball tournament was amazing. How much he loves baseball. So much joy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Joy about my beautiful daughter starting college. So much fear with that. Logistics this weekend with her. Probably lonely because whether or not this is true or not, my perception is that you're in a lot of pain and I want to connect. But I know that there's just so much intensity of logistics this weekend, and sometimes a little lonely and wanting to connect, and maybe some fear that you don't want to. Guilt that I feel that way. Gosh. Some fear about our daughter doing well, and some shame that I didn't do as well as I wanted to in college. I know that she's a lot like me, and I don't want her to be like me in some of those ways. Angry that I got so many freaking mosquito bites this weekend up there, and sad. It killed me to see our older son crying after the game, frustrated with his performance. I cried. That was very sad. Hurt with our stupid dog waking me up this morning at 4. I think that's all.
Thank you.
I didn't even realize that.
You dog, you can go to hell.
Yeah, my anger.
I heard a sharp pain. It shows up as a sharp burst of pain on the graph. I can see that for sure. Thank you both. Thank you so much for sharing. I cannot imagine dropping my kids off at college. Like, just the pain of that moment. My oldest is my girl too, and so that day is going to be very intense. Sarah, for you and for any of the mamas listening that you are dropping your kids off or have recently, we see you and we hold you for sure. I'm like trying not to cry even thinking about it. You're making me emotional. Sarah and Zephan, where can people find you? Where can they connect with you? And are you open to coaching clients right now? Tell us a little bit about you in that regard.
Yeah, we're dabbling into it. We've had a few couple clients. We're really passionate about couples. Like, we really do want to help couples because we really believe that I don't think any situation is too far gone.
Yeah,
You know?
for sure. How can people get a hold of it?
So I literally just made our website. So is it havencoaching.net?
havencoaching.net.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's havencoaching.net. So
I'll put a link in the show notes as well for people to find you and connect with you. Both of your story, just how willing you are to share and authentic. And I have connected so much to different parts of each of your story, from the people pleasing to also the deep desire to connect and the shame spirals that we experience as humans. Whew, I know that our community is right there too. And they're like, oh, is this me? Oh no, it's her. We are all so much more similar than we realize that we are. So thank y'all for being here. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having us.
And for our community, thank you for showing up every single week. If you have started your own journey and maybe you're, in those early days where you feel like you've opened Pandora's box, I strongly encourage you to reach out to a coach. Reach out to Zeph and Sarah. Find someone. You can also go to our coaches page and find someone to help you get through those tough moments. And also, y'all are here because Elijah was brave enough to share. Elijah built a community of people around him because he was brave enough to share. And so I also encourage you to share these tools with a friend. Go to coffee, call your best friend, share the podcast, build a community of people around you that can support you on your journey. And so, as Dr. Glenn and Phyllis say, we do this because you need this, you deserve this. Let's do this.